The phone screen lit up like a slap. A message from Sophia, my wife, stood out clearly. My parents' 50th wedding anniversary celebration is happening at Silver Spire this weekend. Don't come, Ethan. No losers are allowed to attend. I leaned back in the leather chair, the Seattle skyline twinkling through the glass window on the 50th floor of Silver Spire, the most luxurious hotel in the Pacific Northwest, and mine. Silver Spire wasn't just a place for the elite to show off. It was proof of the 20 years I poured my sweat into, from mopping floors in Tacoma to standing at the top of the hospitality industry. But Sophia knew none of it. To her, I was still Ethan Caldwell, the law school dropout, a nobody. I smirked, almost wanting to laugh. Almost because somewhere Sophia's words still clawed at me. Loser. 20 years ago a message like that might have crushed me. Now it just made me chuckle. A bitter kind of chuckle. Another message popped up, this time from Vincent, Sophia's brother. Don't show up in your tattered bellboy uniform, Ethan. We have an image to uphold. Image. I shook my head, gazing at the Space Needle glowing in the heart of Seattle. If they knew the image of Silver Spire was my name etched in gold at the entrance, would they dare send these lines?
Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest video.
I swiveled my chair, my eyes landing on the painting on the wall. The moment I shook hands with the family that owned the old Silver Spire after the $300 million acquisition deal. My face in the painting smiled, but my eyes held the resolve of someone who'd slept in storage rooms, learning hospitality from the lowliest jobs. Sophia and her family, Harold, Evelyn, Vincent, knew nothing of that. To them, I was still the 23-year-old who ditched law school to be a servant instead of a lawyer like my parents, Richard and Laura. They never asked what I did after that. They didn't know I worked every job, cleaning rooms, manning the front desk, carrying suitcases to understand this industry from the ground up. They didn't know I turned a rundown motel in Olympia into a 4-star destination, then built Silver Spire Hospitality Group with 15 hotels across 3 continents. Another message from Sophia. We have a reputation to maintain. Ethan, don't embarrass me again. Again, as if I'd ever intentionally tarnished her reputation. I remembered the time she and her family excluded me from a party for daring to speak the truth about one of Vincent's shady business deals. When the scandal broke, they blamed me, calling me a troublemaker. I looked out the window, Seattle sprawling below, the city that had seen me go from torn shoes to this office, with its polished walnut desk and a plaque engraved Ethan Caldwell, CEO. Sophia's messages didn't break me like they once might have. They only made me want to act. I sipped my coffee, Seattle's rich brew, and smiled. Sophia wanted me to stay home? Fine, but I'd go to Silver Spire, not as a guest, but as the owner. Jacob, my brother, the only one who knew the truth, would burst out laughing when he heard this plan. I imagined him saying, "You're gonna show Sophia's whole family who's boss, aren't you?" Damn right, Jacob. I'd show them, not with words, but with the truth carved on the gold plaque at the entrance. Sophia and her family thought they could ban me. They were about to learn that the loser they despised now owned the very place they stood, and I'd make sure that moment was seared into their minds forever. I was 23 when I decided to drop out of law school. It wasn't an easy choice. My parents, Richard and Laura, were prominent Seattle lawyers who dreamed of the day I'd take over Caldwell and Associates. They called law school the golden path, and I was their hope to uphold the family name. But I saw no future in stacks of case files or courtrooms. I wanted to build something, not just defend it. When I announced I was quitting, my father slammed the table, yelling, "No, Caldwell does manual labor. If you leave law school, you're no longer my son." My mother, with disappointed eyes, only said, "Ethan, you're ruining your life." I left home with a backpack and a few $100, heading to Tacoma, an hour's drive from Seattle. I found work at a rundown motel called Blue Anchor Inn, where the smell of cigarettes and old carpets clung to everything. My first job was cleaning rooms, mopping floors, changing sheets, vacuuming. I worked 16 hours a day, sometimes sleeping in the storage room to save on rent. Every late shift, with aching hands and a sore back, I wondered if my parents were right. Had I thrown my future in the trash? Sophia, my girlfriend at the time, was once drawn to my determination. We met at a coffee shop near law school, where she studied interior design. She said she loved how I dared to be different, dared to dream big. But when I started working at Blue Anchor, she changed. "Ethan, you can't be a cleaner forever," she said, her voice laced with worry and contempt. Her family, Harold, Evelyn and Vincent, were worse. Harold, a real estate businessman, called me the floor scrubber at a family dinner. Evelyn sighed, as if I were Sophia's mistake. Vincent, with a smug grin, once asked, "How long are you going to be a bellboy, Ethan?" "Till you're 40, I just smiled. But inside, each word was a knife. Jacob, my younger brother, was the only light in those days. 5 years younger, he was in college, but always had my back. One night, as I ate instant noodles in my tiny Tacoma apartment, Jacob called, "Bro, don't listen to them. If you want to do hotels, be better than anyone else." Jacob didn't just talk, he sent me books on hotel management, articles on the service industry. I started taking notes. How front desk staff handled difficult guests, how kitchens operated, how a smile could turn an angry customer into a loyal one. I learned from those around me, the laundry worker, who taught me how to fold towels perfectly, the bellboy who showed me how to read high-end guests' moods. Blue Anchor was my real-world school, and I was its most dedicated student. But Sophia's family didn't see that. Once, at Evelyn's birthday party, I was invited only because Sophia begged them. I wore an old dress shirt, trying to blend in, but Vincent pulled me aside, whispering, "You don't belong here, Ethan. Don't embarrass Sophia." I wanted to argue, to say I was building a future, but I stayed silent. As I left the party, Sophia held my hand, but her eyes were full of disappointment. "I just want you to be stable," she said. Stable, to her, meant an office job, a flashy business card, not a bellboy's uniform and night shifts. Their scorn didn't make me give up. It fueled me. I remember one night at Blue Anchor, after cleaning the last room, I stood in front of a mirror, looking at myself in a wrinkled uniform. "You'll make it," I told myself. "You'll own a hotel, not just clean it." That was the moment I decided not just to work in hospitality, but to dominate it. I started saving every penny, studying finance, and finding ways to pitch to investors. Jacob was the only one who believed in me. "You'll make all of Seattle look up," he said, and I held those words close. It all started in Olympia, an hour's drive from Tacoma. After 3 years of grinding at Blue Anchor, I saved a small sum and applied for an SBA loan, a loan the bank grudgingly approved, with skeptical looks. With that money, 40 I bought Sunset Lodge, a 20-room motel with peeling walls and a leaky roof. The former owner smirked as I signed the contract. "You'll go bankrupt in 6 months," he said. Sophia, by then my fiancée, was worse. "Ethan, you're throwing money away on a motel?" she asked, her voice dripping with disappointment. I didn't answer. Sunset Lodge wasn't the end game. It was the first step to proving I could do it. I poured everything into Sunset Lodge. By day, I painted walls, fixed plumbing, and folded towels the way I'd learned at Blue Anchor. By night, I studied the market, learning how to draw tourists with creative ads in cozy rooms. I made mistakes, once ordering the wrong batch of towels, upsetting guests, another time, hiring a chef who set the kitchen on fire. But every failure taught me something. I learned how to negotiate with suppliers, how to make high-end guests feel special with just a smile. In 3 years, Sunset Lodge went from a dump to a 4-star destination, praised by local papers as Olympia's hidden gem. Sophia never visited once. "I'm busy," she said, but I knew she was ashamed her husband was a motel manager. Sunset Lodge's success gave me the confidence to expand. I used the profits to buy a small hotel in Portland, then another in Bellevue. Each deal was a gamble, and I nearly went bankrupt when a competitor spread rumors that my hotels were unsanitary. I had to personally inspect every room, check every corner, and invite the press to prove them wrong. Jacob, my brother, was the only one by my side. "Bro, keep going. They're just jealous," Jacob said. And I listened. I learned to play the game of the elite, negotiating with investors, trading my uniform for a suit, but still keeping the heart of a bellboy, who knew the value of an honest day's work. The pinnacle came when I set my sights on Silver Spire, Seattle's iconic hotel. It was the dream I'd nurtured since my days at Blue Anchor. But the $300 million deal was a mountain. Investors looked at me like an outsider, a guy with no law degree or pedigree. "You think you're capable of owning Silver Spire?" one asked, voice dripping with sarcasm. I smiled, presenting a detailed business plan, from projected revenue to marketing strategy. They reluctantly agreed, and when I signed the contract, I felt like all of Seattle was watching. The day I took over, I stood in the lobby, staring at the plaque engraved Ethan Caldwell, owner, and thought of my father, of Sophia, of everyone who said I'd be nothing. They were wrong. I built a loyal team, people who understood the value of starting from the bottom. Margaret, once a front desk clerk at Sunset Lodge, now my assistant, runs 3 of my hotels with a sharpness I could never teach. Thomas, head of security, has been with me since Olympia, always ready to protect, not just the hotel but my vision. They're not just employees, they're family. The real kind, unlike those who share the Caldwell name, but turned their backs on me. Sophia knows nothing of this empire. She thinks I'm a mid-level manager, scraping by. Every time I offered to take her to Silver Spire, she refused. "I don't like hotels," she said, but I knew she was afraid of being tied to the floor scrubber. I returned to my desk, my gaze settling on the painting of me shaking hands with the former Silver Spire owners. It wasn't just a deal. It was my answer to every insult. I turned Sunset Lodge into a gem, Portland and Bellevue into destinations, and Silver Spire into an icon. But Sophia and her family, Harold, Evelyn, Vincent, still think I'm a failure. They're about to learn the truth, not through words, but in Silver Spire's ballroom, where I'll stand, not as a bellboy, but as the owner. I smirked, a mix of humor and bitterness. They want reputation. I'll show them what real reputation looks like. This weekend, at Harold and Evelyn's 50th wedding anniversary celebration, I'll reveal the truth, not with words, but with a display they'll never forget. I took the last sip of my coffee, set the cup on the walnut desk, and started planning. The next morning, I gathered my closest team in Silver Spire's small meeting room. Jacob, my brother, sat across with a mischievous grin, as if he already knew what I was up to. Margaret, my assistant, once a front desk clerk at Sunset Lodge, brought her tablet and a serious expression. Thomas, head of security, stood in the corner, eyes sharp, ready to execute any order. "We've got a Caldwell family reunion this weekend," I began, voice calm but tinged with humor. "And I want it to be memorable." Margaret reported first. The Caldwell family booked Silver Spire's main ballroom, the premium champagne package, and requested a professional photographer. "They're bragging on social media that it's Seattle's most prestigious event this year." She paused, looking at me. "They don't know you're the owner, Mr. Caldwell. They think this is their family's privilege." I smiled. Sophia had posted pictures of Silver Spire online, captioned with boasts about the Caldwell family's class. She didn't know that class belonged to me. I instructed Margaret, "Don't charge the champagne package or any services yet. Let them think everything's free." Jacob burst out laughing. "You're gonna let them bask in their delusion, then pull the rug out, aren't you?" I shrugged. "Exactly." Thomas nodded, adding, "I checked the guest records. Harold's been banned from 2 Portland hotels for using expired credit cards. Vincent has a history of harassing front desk staff. Evelyn's notorious for demanding free room upgrades." I nodded, satisfied. Sophia's family wasn't just arrogant. They left a trail of bad behavior across the hospitality industry. The only reason Silver Spire accepted them was because they didn't know I was the owner. I asked Thomas to set up cameras in every corner of the ballroom, from the entrance stage to the dining tables. "Capture every moment," I said. "Multiple angles, multiple copies." Jacob chimed in. "Bro, promise me you'll record Sophia's face when she realizes the truth. I want to see that look forever." I laughed loudly. "Don't worry, Jacob. It's all set." Margaret handed me a thick file. Offensive texts from Sophia, emails from Vincent mocking me, and Evelyn's social media posts, boasting about excluding me from family events. We'll need this, I said, flipping through the pages. Each insult was a bullet, and I'd fire back with the truth. Sophia sent another text at noon. Ethan, I'm serious, don't come to Silver Spire. Don't ruin this reunion. I replied briefly. Don't worry, babe. She'd think I agreed. I stood, walking to the glass cabinet in my office, where I kept my old bellboy uniform from Blue Anchor Inn. It still fit, though faded and frayed. I decided to wear it when I entered the ballroom, not to humiliate myself, but to remind them of what they mocked. That uniform wasn't a symbol of failure. It was the start of my empire. Thomas asked, Mr. Caldwell, you want to wait until they're in the ballroom to reveal, right? I nodded. Let them enjoy the glamour. Let them raise their glasses, brag. Then we flipped the script. Margaret smiled. Psychological warfare. I like it. She, more than anyone, knew how far I'd come from Sunset Lodge. She'd been insulted by guests herself, but I gave her a chance to become my assistant, and now she runs 3 of my hotels. I stood before the large screen in my 50th-floor Silver Spire office, Seattle's lights twinkling behind, like a perfect backdrop. The security cameras, installed at my direction by Thomas, streamed live from the main lobby and ballroom entrance. Sophia's family, Harold, Evelyn, Vincent, and their guests were arriving, dressed in lavish gowns and suits, smug smiles on their faces. They thought they were the center of this 50th anniversary celebration, unaware the stage belonged to me. Sophia's last text echoed in my mind. Don't ruin this reunion. I smiled, sipping cold coffee. Ruin? No, I'd make it unforgettable. The screen showed Harold, in an expensive suit, raising his voice at the front desk. Why are there no rooms? We booked a month ago. The staff, well trained, responded calmly. We're sorry, sir. Your reservation was canceled. No rooms are available. Harold's face reddened, pointing at the marble fountain in the lobby. Do you know who we are? This is Seattle's biggest event this year. I chuckled. Biggest event, sure, but not the way he thought. Evelyn, with her sparkling pearl necklace, tugged Harold's arm, trying to calm him, but her eyes betrayed panic. Vincent, nearby, furiously typed on his phone, likely drafting a social media complaint. This is Silver Spire's service. I'll let the world know, he muttered, loud enough for the camera to catch. I shook my head. If Vincent knew the owner was watching his tantrum, would he keep going? A front desk clerk, per the plan, approached politely. Sir, madam, the owner will meet you in the ballroom. Please follow me. Harold huffed, but led his reluctant group, confused guests trailing behind. Sophia appeared on the screen, her red evening gown striking, her face tense. She kept checking her phone, probably waiting for my reply. That morning, she called twice, her voice almost pleading, Ethan, you can't come to Silver Spire, you'll embarrass me in front of everyone. I didn't answer, just texted back. Don't worry, she thought I'd stay home, but she didn't know I was already here, in my office, pulling the strings. Seeing Sophia enter the lobby, I felt a pang of pain. 20 years ago, she held my hand, saying she believed in my dreams. Now, she saw me as a stain on her family's reputation. Thomas entered my office, tablet in hand. They're entering the ballroom, Mr. Caldwell. Everything's as you requested. 1 table, 1 chair, 1 spotlight. No flowers, no party, just darkness. He grinned, eyes gleaming with excitement. The screen shifted to the ballroom's camera. Sophia's family stepped through the carved wooden double doors, their lively chatter halting. No lavish banquet tables, no sparkling chandeliers, just darkness, with a single table, a chair, and a spotlight shining down. Evelyn gasped, voice trembling. What's this mistake? We booked a whole ballroom. Harold turned to the escorting staff, roaring, who's responsible for this farce? I want the owner now. The staff, with a professional smile, replied, Sir, the owner requests you step into the light, one by one. Vincent, losing his cool, shouted, This is an insult. We're the Caldwells. Do you know who we are? I laughed loudly, the sound echoing in the quiet office. They were the Caldwells, sure, but the most important Caldwell here was me. Ethan Caldwell, the loser they mocked. Sophia, beside Vincent, covered her face, whispering, "What's going on?" She started looking around, as if sensing something was off. She wasn't wrong. The storm was coming, and I was steering it. Thomas looked at me, awaiting orders. "Phase 1 complete," he said. "They've been denied their rooms, and now they're in the ballroom. Ready for Phase 2? I nodded. "Give them a few minutes to dig their own graves." Then we flipped the script. I stood before the carved wooden double doors leading to Silver Spire's ballroom. My old blue anchor-in bellboy uniform fitting snugly, slightly tight at the shoulders, but enough to recall the days of being scorned. Through the camera feed on my phone, I saw Sophia's family, Harold, Evelyn, Vincent, in chaos in the ballroom's darkness, with just a table, a chair, and a spotlight. Harold's shouts echoed. "What kind of farce is this? I want the owner now." Sophia, in her vivid red gown, covered her face, muttering, "What's happening?" I smirked, my heart pounding, but not from fear. This was the moment I'd waited for. The moment to turn the loser they saw into the one holding all the cards. I pushed the doors open and stepped inside. The light from the main lobby spilled through, highlighting my faded uniform. The ballroom's noise stopped dead, as if someone had muted the room. 40 pairs of eyes locked onto me. Harold, red with rage, Evelyn gaping, Vincent, frowning in disbelief. Sophia froze, her phone slipping from her hand, voice trembling. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" I didn't answer right away, slowly walking to the center of the ballroom, where the spotlight waited. Each step echoed on the marble floor, like a drumbeat heralding the storm. Harold broke the silence, pointing at me. "Who's this guy? Where's security? Get him out." But Thomas, standing in the corner, arms crossed, gave a slight smile. Not a single staff member moved. I stopped under the spotlight's white glare, feeling its heat on my shoulders. "Get me out?" I said, voice calm but icy. "That's tough, Harold, because I'm the owner of Silver Spire." Silence fell, heavy as an iron curtain. Evelyn blinked rapidly, as if her brain rejected the truth. Vincent let out a nervous chuckle, but it died when no one joined in. Sophia stepped forward, her red gown askew, voice shaking. "Ethan, don't joke. You're an employee, not the owner." I looked into her eyes, where love once lived, but now only panic remained. "Employee," I repeated, slowly opening the file Margaret had prepared. "Take a look at this first, Sophia." I read Sophia's message aloud. "Don't come, Ethan. No losers are allowed to attend." Whispers rippled through the room. I continued, voice steady, and this from Vincent. "Don't show up in your tattered bellboy uniform." Or this, from Evelyn on social media. "The reunion will be perfect without those who don't belong here." Harold stammered. You can't own Silver Spire. It's the most prestigious hotel." I cut him off, voice cold. "The most prestigious in the Northwest. Yes, and I own it, along with 15 other hotels, across 3 continents. Silver Spire Hospitality Group. Sound familiar?" I held up the file, revealing ownership documents with my signature. Sophia collapsed into a chair, hand over her mouth, eyes red. Vincent shouted, "Impossible. You're a floor scrubber." I smiled, turning to him. "The floor scrubber bought this entire building, Vincent. And you, I hear you've been banned from 2 hotels for harassing staff. Want me to read the list?" The murmurs among the guests grew louder. Some stole glances at Sophia, Harold, Evelyn, as if they'd been stripped bare in public. I went on. "Silver Spire has standards, and we don't serve those who insult staff, use expired credit cards, or think money equals character." I looked straight at Sophia. "You said I embarrassed you. But now, who's the one embarrassed?" She didn't answer, just bowed her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. I turned to Thomas. "Cancel the reunion. Escort everyone out." Harold lunged forward, voice hoarse. "You can't do this. This is our event." I stepped closer, voice low but sharp. "Your event? You're standing in my hotel, Harold. Everything here from the chandeliers to the champagne glasses belongs to me." Thomas and the security team moved in, professional but firm, guiding the crowd toward the door. Evelyn sobbed, clinging to Vincent, who muttered incoherent curses. Sophia stood, trying to approach me, but I raised a hand to stop her. "Don't, Sophia. You chose reputation over me. Now face that choice. As the crowd was led out, I heard applause from the corner. Jacob, hidden in the shadows, stepped forward, phone raised, recording every moment. Brilliant, bro, he shouted, grinning wide. I told you you'd shut them up. I nodded, but my heart wasn't just filled with joy. Seeing Sophia, now just a faint red blur in the crowd, I felt an emptiness. 20 years of marriage, the days she once believed in me, now dissolved under the spotlight. I stood alone in the ballroom, the spotlight glaring on my bellboy uniform. It was no longer a symbol of lowliness. It was my beginning, proof of the nights I learned, the days I fought. I ran my hand over the small plaque on the wall, engraved Silver Spire, Ethan Caldwell, owner. They tried to bury me, but I built an empire on the ashes of their contempt. I closed my eyes, breathing deeply, feeling the weight of this moment. Not revenge, but justice, justice for the 23-year-old called a loser. Thomas stepped in, tablet in hand. They're gone, Mr. Caldwell. Some tried to argue, but we have footage. Send it to the press? I shook my head. Not yet. Let them dig their own graves. I looked toward the door, where the crowd had vanished. Sophia was probably breaking down, Harold and Vincent likely blaming each other. But I didn't care anymore. I'd said what needed saying, and Silver Spire, my dream, still stood tall. The ballroom fell silent after the double doors closed. Evelyn's sobs and Vincent's curses just faint echoes. I stood under the spotlight, the old bellboy uniform, hugging my shoulders, feeling both like a victor and someone who'd lost something. Jacob, my brother, approached, phone still raised, grin radiant. Bro, this is legendary, he shouted, slapping my shoulder. I got it all, every second. Sophia looked like she saw a ghost. I gave a faint smile, but my eyes lingered on the empty chair, where Sophia had sat before security escorted her out. 20 years of marriage, and now she was just a fading red shadow in my memory. I signaled Jacob to stop recording. Enough, kid? Let me have a moment. Jacob nodded, understanding, and left the room, tossing back a wink. I stepped onto Silver Spire's balcony, where cool Puget Sound breezes carried Seattle's briny scent. The city sprawled below, the Space Needle glowing like a reminder of how far I'd come. But this victory, silencing Sophia's family, why did it leave a void in my chest? The next morning, Seattle's press exploded. Hotel mogul teaches family a lesson in respect. One headline read, Ethan Caldwell, from janitor to Silver Spire owner, cancels family reunion over discrimination. Articles praised my journey, from Blue Anchor Inn to the $300 million Silver Spire acquisition. They called me a symbol of perseverance, of those underestimated but never defeated. Silver Spire, already a prestigious destination, became an emblem of justice and hospitality. My staff, from Margaret to Thomas, moved with proud smiles, as if they shared this victory. But amid the praise, my phone buzzed non-stop, texts, calls, voicemails, some from reunion guests, some from distant friends, and a handwritten letter from Sophia, delivered via hotel staff. Ethan, I was wrong. I didn't know what you'd achieved. Please, let's talk. I read the letter, her shaky handwriting pulling me back to days when she held my hand, saying she believed in my dreams. But now, after 20 years of being belittled, did her apologies matter? I folded the letter, tucked it in a drawer, not ready to respond. I met Jacob at a coffee shop near Silver Spire, where the aroma of roasted beans mixed with Seattle's damp air. You okay? Jacob asked, his rare serious tone. I thought you'd be jumping after yesterday. I shrugged, staring out the window at the drizzling rain. I'm fine, but not really. I proved what I wanted, but I'm not sure it was worth it. Jacob frowned. What do you mean? You shut them up, Sophia, Harold, Vincent. They deserved it. I nodded, but inside, I recalled Sophia's eyes as she sank into that chair. My father's words. You'll be nothing if you leave law school. I proved him wrong, but the cost was a broken marriage and a family that no longer existed. I told Jacob about my Tacoma days, sleeping in storage rooms, dreaming of a hotel like Silver Spire. Back then, I just wanted them to see my worth. I said, now they see, but I don't need their validation anymore. Jacob smiled, clapping my shoulder. That's my brother. You don't need them. You've got Silver Spire, me and a team behind you. I laughed, feeling lighter. Jacob was right. I built an empire not on family prestige, but with my own hands. Back at Silver Spire, I stood in the lobby, where the gold plaque engraved Ethan Caldwell, owner, gleamed under the lights. Staff passed, nodding with respect, not just because I was the boss, but because they knew I'd been one of them. The bellboy, the cleaner, the underestimated. Margaret approached, handing me a new revenue report. Bookings are up 20% since the incident, she said, smiling. People call Silver Spire the Hotel of Justice. I nodded, eyes fixed on the plaque. Justice, yes, but not just for me, for everyone pushed to the bottom, who still rose. I returned to the balcony, watching Puget Sound glow gold under the sunset. My phone buzzed, another text from Sophia, but I didn't open it. I wasn't angry at her, not anymore. I just wanted to move forward, leaving behind the insults and scornful glances. Silver Spire was my home, and I'd keep building it, not to prove anything to anyone, but because it was the dream I bled for. I breathed deeply, the sea breeze rushing through. The void in my chest lingered, but it was slowly filling, not with Sophia's validation, but with belief in myself. In the weeks after the ballroom incident, Silver Spire shone brighter. I turned my story into policy, prioritizing hires who started at the bottom, cleaners, bellboys, front desk clerks, people like me, once belittled, but full of grit. At every training session, I stood before new staff, sharing my journey from Blue Anchor Inn to Silver Spire's 50th floor. Success isn't something you inherit, I said, pointing to the bellboy uniform. It's what you build, day by day, drop of sweat by drop. They listened, eyes alight, seeing themselves in my story. Sophia and her family, Harold, Evelyn, Vincent, stopped contacting me, and I didn't seek them out. Sophia's letter stayed in the drawer, unopened. He didn't hate her, but I didn't need her apologies. I'd found my worth, not through her eyes, but through what I built. Silver Spire, my team, and the belief that I was enough. If you've ever been looked down on, told you're not enough, stand up. Success doesn't come from prestige or others' approval. It comes from faith in yourself. Ethan Caldwell, once a floor scrubber, and now Silver Spire's owner. I did it, and you can too. Share your story, about the days you wore the uniform others scorned, about how you turned it into the key to your dreams. Your voice matters, and I want to hear it. I stepped into the lobby one last time, bellboy uniform, still on my shoulders, eyes lingering on the gold plaque. Seattle might call me a mogul, but I'm just Ethan, who dared to dream, dared to do, and dared to be himself. That's my legacy, and I'll carry it further. Subscribe to the channel to follow journeys of self-discovery and real family stories. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next video.